Must be the same people because we're not sitting there selling the house. Next door to.
Tell me what it says.
Is it time? Okay. It's 6 o'clock, so we'll start our meeting. I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. So to start off, the first thing on the agenda is our invocation. And I've asked Danny Laws if he could come and do the invocation for us tonight. So if you would stand with me.
Our Father in heaven, as we come before you tonight, we recognize you as the creator of all things and the giver and sustainer of life and our salvation. Lord, we ask tonight that you pour out your wisdom on each person here, presenter and our council. We ask that all preconceived ideas and prejudice be set aside. We ask for agreement and unity. Lord, we just ask that all decisions tonight will be just and fair. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Now if we do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you would silence your phones or turn them off. We'll start off with a couple of announcements. The next City Council meeting is on the 27th of January. That's the same date as the annual Chamber of Commerce banquet. So we've asked to start our meeting an hour early so that those who can participate in the banquet can go. So we're going to propose that the next meeting will start at 5 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock, and that's January the 27th. And then I want to read a statement here before we go on to business here. So I'm just going to, so I won't stumble on my words, I've got a prepared written statement here. I'd like to start off this year with a few comments. A few of the things I promised I would do if I got elected as mayor of Bowie would be to listen to the citizens, ask questions, and try to bring harmony to the city council meetings, and all work together to use our common skills and ideas to work on the problems and issues which brought turmoil to our city. Over the past several years, there has been so much hate and arguments going on which do nothing but cause these issues to erode and become worse. None of these problems can be fixed overnight or even fixed in a couple of weeks or months. It will take each of us working together, keeping our tempers in check and personal attacks at bay. We're all adults, but sometimes act otherwise. I would ask that each of us do a self-check on what we say, how we say it, and ensure we are all working on the same common goal to seek out ideas on how we can fix the problems which the citizens voted us into these positions to do, and not to try to tear each other down because you may disagree with something one of us brings up as an idea or something to vote on. We've got lots of work to get done for the city of Bowie, so if we each think of what the citizens asked for us to do when they voted for us, work together on those issues, search out good ideas and solutions, and see how we can use our own skill sets and ideas, hopefully we will be successful in creating effective plans to get Bowie back on track and making it a better place for us all to enjoy living in. If we continue to argue, fuss, and tear down one another, we will fail. And there is simply no way we can be a successful city council group. I promise to do my part and sincerely ask each of you to join me in working together as a team to take care of the city's business. Now we'll move on to the next agenda item on the thing here. City manager's report. Bert's got a lot to talk about, so I'm going to turn it to you, Bert, and give us an update on what's going on, what's been going on.
The mayor asked me to kind of put together a list of the things that we completed in 2019, the things that we're working on in the future, and I've got, like you said, an extensive list here. I'm just gonna kind of just go over it and hit the high points. Along with department heads, we completed the hazard mitigation plan for the Texas Department of Emergency Management. The plan will be used on all grant applications made by the city in the future. At some point in about 2 years, we'll revisit this plan and bring it up to date. Our plan has not been approved as yet, but it's scheduled to be approved this month. As you will remember, we did the customer service building in 2019, and it has proven to be a wise move by the city. We have moved the finance department there, and it serves as a convenient place for us to take payments and work with the citizens as they go about the business of the city. Early in 2019, we had TML Insurance come and inspect all of our buildings. They had not been done so in the past, and for some reason that was neglected, but we had new roofs put on the City Hall Police Station building, the electric barn on the south side, the fire station, and the building at the airport. Other than paying the deductibles, that didn't cost the city anything. At the request of the city council and several citizens, we bought hardware and software to broadcast city council meetings, and I didn't think we were having any problems, and Sandy has made me aware that we have a few problems getting our video up and going sometimes, so that's kind of hit and miss, and we're going to be on top of that, making sure that problem does not exist any longer. Earlier in 2019, we contracted with Enterprise Fleet Management, and we were offered a program about new city vehicles, not only new vehicles, but also the maintenance program of those vehicles. The good thing about it is we're going to have new vehicles throughout the city. Over the next 4 years, they'll be replacing all of our vehicles. They'll be safer and will cost less, and then they do, like I said, a maintenance program where they watch and tell us, if we have a problem with a vehicle based on fuel mileage or something like that, and make us aware that some problems should be taken care of. We should be saving about $25,000 a year in vehicle and maintenance by taking advantage of it, especially the vehicle resale value. Early in 2019, I attended a workshop at Gardner Engineering in Frisco that was put on by the Texas Water Development Board. The workshop was about their loan program, and the city had done a study about 5 years ago about replacing all the sewer lines in Bowie, and so I took that information and put it together, and we did a first application with the Water Development Board. We didn't score very good. Our score was real low, mostly because we're trying to take care of problems before they hit us, so severe problems, and other cities have much more severe problems, and they scored a lot higher than we did. But based on the fact that a lot of those cities couldn't afford to borrow the money, they invited us to make a second application, and we're in the process of doing that now. I visited with the engineer, and they'll be here this week, to start looking at, our substandard sewer lines, all over town, and we're gonna try to borrow about $9.3 million to replace those lines. The good thing about and working with Water Development Board is the payback on that would be 30 years at less than 1% interest, and they structured the payment plan so that we will pay off our existing debt before we start paying on that. So the payments will run about $300,000 a year, and that's a heck of a deal. There's just a lot of hoops to jump through because of that, but it's well worth it considering the cheap money. As the council has been kept aware, we have done 2 requests for proposals for a solar array to generate power for the city. Because of our lower wholesale cost of power, these proposals have proved not to be beneficial, but I continue to look. Prices that we've been given, that's $40 to $50 per kW, is what we've been offered, and we need prices in the 35 to 39 kW range. But we'll continue to look. The tariffs that the government has put on the solar arrays coming from China has hurt it, but not by that much. It just, the economy to the scale of a smaller 2 megawatt system like we need just can't be, we can't get the power price down where we need it in order to make it work. We've purchased software and hardware to start scanning all of our city documents, which in the past, we start looking for documents, we couldn't find it, and that's happened several times, and it's because we've got documents in this building, we've got documents over there, and going through and finding them, and so this software will help us to locate documents much like that you find in medical offices, where you can just put in a name or a number or whatever, a date, and it'll pull up documents that have that information on it. So we're looking forward to that. We started a Bowie High School student internship program within the city. Said that several departments are looking to hire these interns. They'll be paid minimum wage without benefits, but it'll be good for both of us in that the kids will learn something about city government. They'll learn about the department they'll be working in. And of course, we've made them go through the normal hiring process of interviewing, and so that kind of trains them for the future, and it'll be good for the kids and good for the city. So we're looking forward to getting that off the ground. The departments is, and I've probably left some out, but the city office, the library, the electric department, the water plant, the police department, the park department, and I'm not sure what others, so I probably left somebody out of that. Early this year, I was notified by the USDA that we're gonna receive a grant in the $550,000 range to start fixing the flooding problem on the creek from Highway 59 to Patterson Street. I've named the project the Brushy Creek Tributary Channel Bank Stabilization Project. Half Engineering had already done a study previously about this, and what we're looking to do is stabilize the banks of the creek with concrete riprap, and so runoff water will run out of the creek a lot faster. If the money goes far enough, I hope we get the concrete riprap at least to Lamb Street, so we can't use any of that money to rebuild the bridge on Lamb Street, but if we can get it to there, then our guys can go in and build a bridge like we did on Mill Street. Anyway, we're looking forward to that. I got all the paperwork done and sent in last week, and I got an email today from the local USDA office asking if all the paperwork is done. So that's probably fixing to ramp up and start working a little bit. Completed projects for 2019 include the East Lift Station rebuild, which we finished. I think Jay probably tell you, we've got a punch list, but it's not very big. The raw water pump station pumps rebuild out at the lake, is proceeding, and we should get the second pump in sometime the next week or so, I think Jay said. The high service pump number 3 at the water plant, the valve replacement and repair. We replaced over 3,000 feet of the water and sewer lines, this year. Matthew Street water line replacement from Wise to Con is just starting. And of course, the guys have been working feverishly, repairing water leaks and sewer problems over the last couple of months. I guess the cool weather or whatever has caused a lot of that. But one thing we can tell is our water loss from leaks is slowly coming down. I asked Jerry Sutton about that the other day, and he said that the water loss, he can tell we've got some new lines, so that's good news. Future projects on the book, I've hired an architect for renovation of the community room for city offices. The water plant chlorine to bleach conversion project will start soon. We've got about 10,000 feet of water line replacement planned for the near future. And we're gonna start paving areas where we've laid new water lines and where the sewer lines are of good use. We're getting an airport grant to rehab the runway and the taxiway at the airport. And we've also started and just borrowed the money and then got done purchase of installation of above ground fuel tanks at the airport. And finally, the Texas Water Development loan to replace the sewer line. And the council, you should have some supporting papers on there. If you need any other information, you get it with it. And ask your questions.
Okay, Bert, thank you very much. As you can tell, we did a lot last year, and I wanted to make sure that, that Bert told the council and the city, and the citizens, what all we've done. We're not just sitting on our hands. There's been a lot of work done on the streets, the water lines, the sewer lines, and there's more to come. So I felt like we needed to tell everybody just how much we did get accomplished last year. So thank you, Bert, for putting that together. Okay, the next agenda item. Any questions about that, by the way, from anybody?
Could I ask just a question real quick? Did Barbara get a copy of this?
No.
Okay, good. This is a really good list of things that we did last year. And
Yes.
is it okay to put this list out there? In the,
Sure.
Okay. Just
Good.
wanted to check, make sure.
Okay. Next item is item 6, public comments. We're doing public comments for the night. If you would, go to the podium and state your name.
Dylan Steen. I feel like I'm the only one that gets up and talks as a citizen at these meetings. I just want to say.
If you could, Dylan, talk into the microphone so we can get that.
I figured I was loud mouth enough, y'all can hear me whether I was in the microphone or not. I just want to say I agree with you that on the point of, I think all y'all need to be working together. Every one of y'all are adults, but every one of y'all are different people, so you're gonna have different opinions about things. Totally understand that. But as a citizen that voted for some of y'all, I expect you to still do your job. And as a citizen that has to follow the laws of this town, this state, this country, I expect everybody else to have to follow them too. And I do not expect anything to be swept underneath the rug just to make this council look better. I want real. I don't care whether I like what comes out of this council meeting or not. I want it to be real and I want it to be honest, whether I like it or not. I think that all y'all need to put aside your personal biases to work for the best of this city. Since y'all had your last meeting, I have moved my mother to this town and my 2 grandsons have moved to this town. I want this town to be the best that it can be. Whether y'all like each other, I don't care whether y'all like each other. I want you to do the business that is best for this town, and I want everybody to have to follow the same laws and regulations that I do when I walk out that door. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. Yes, sir, you had a question? If you would come to the podium and state your name.
I appreciate the council taking this opportunity to listen to the citizens before the meeting.
State your name if you would so everybody will know.
Patrick Walters.
Okay, thank you, Patrick.
And Today, I feel like there's exciting times for the citizens of this town ahead of them. And especially if people take the opportunity to take advantage of what's out there for us. Now, tonight, on the agenda, y'all have an item in front of y'all addressing the 2018 building codes. I just want to express my interest in those because they will certainly lighten the burden upon the contractor and the builders, especially in the commercial area of the 2018 building codes. And like our project out there, I've got the plans already drawn up to adopt those in favor of those plans that meet the requirements for the 2018 building codes. So I sort of took a leap of faith and told the architect and engineers to design it that way. Because I'm pretty sure that after tonight, we can go forward with it. So I would just like for everybody to consider a yes on that proposition on that item 2 on your new business, and so we can get moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you,
Could I
Patrick.
ask you a question real
Yes,
quick? In your opinion, it's my understanding when the 2012 codes were adopted, that those codes were very restrictive and very hard to comply with in a lot of ways. And that since then, the 2018 codes are somewhat more, less restrictive. Is that a correct assessment, or?
That's a very correct assessment on our project from 2012 to the 2018 building codes. It'll save me in the neighborhood of $45,000 on that building support building. So they are less restrictive. It doesn't do a whole lot, I don't believe, for residential, but maybe a break even there. But on the commercial end of it, which this city needs commercial, that will be very helpful for us.
Okay.
Good. Thank you, Patrick. Anyone else? If not, we'll go right into the next item. Number 7, consent approval for the agenda items, and that's to approve the minutes of the last meeting. So I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Okay, have a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay, old business, item number 8. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead. Let's say, Mr. Kent, how do you vote on that?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Aye.
Ms. Higgins? Mr. Bell? Okay, sorry about that. Agenda item number 8, old business, discuss the Nortex-Mitigation Plan project update. So Bert, you're on again.
Well, I mentioned that a while ago. I'm waiting with bated breath until our plan gets approved. We should know anytime now. They kept saying after the first of the year. Well, it's after the first of the year. So
That's right.
anyway, I'll let everybody know what I know.
Any questions or discussion about that?
Just the idea that we mentioned the hazard mitigation plan gets us in-kind dollars for the contract. And I would imagine that we're real close to paying off all the in-kind we need just from our mouth moving up and down in these meetings, so.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's just us and Nakona, the only 2 towns in the county that's got this plan going?
Yeah, it's mostly us.
Yeah.
I haven't seen no county in any meetings, but that doesn't mean they're not involved in it.
Right.
But the county is actively involved in it.
Right. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, business. Discussion action, the consider planning and zoning recommendation on the request from Jon and Carla Swofford to replat lots 4, 5, and 6, Block 6, North Park Subdivision, creating Lot 4R, Lot 5R, Block 6, revised North Park Subdivision. And do you want to give us an update on that?
The Planning and Zoning Commission met on December 19th, 2019, and we discussed this, and we voted unanimously to approve the replatting of those 3 lots into the 2 lots. Any questions that any of you have, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, if there's no questions, we'll entertain a motion to accept this as read.
So moved.
Mr. Love, have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Higgins?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
And Mr. Kent?
Aye.
Okay, thank you all for that. Congratulations, you can get started on that project now, huh?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think this is what Mr. Patrick was talking about a while ago. Item number 2 under new business, ordinance, this will be the first ordinance for the year. Ordinance number 2020-01, an ordinance amending Chapter 3, Building and Construction Codes, Article 3.100, Building Codes, Section 3.102, 2018, and other international codes adopted by the National Electric Code, Code of Ordinance of the City of Bowie, repealing any conflicting clause, providing for a severability clause. So Bert, do you want to talk about that, or David?
Yeah, I can discuss it, and David probably might want to say something too. But we've been talking about this for the last year, and so back in November, I guess it's November, I wanted to have, and I scheduled 4 2-hour meetings with David and Doug and Jay Evans and myself to talk about the 18 codes. We met for about 2 hours one time, and they convinced me, I was convinced that we needed to go ahead and change to the 2018 codes, basically because on commercial, they're less restrictive. They're about the same on residential. I don't see any reason not to. By adopting the 18 codes, could keep our ISO insurance rating at its present rate. So I would urge you to adopt the 18 codes. And something I should say, that there's such that if we find something in the codes that is too restrictive, we can change it later. And I like that. So, you know, just being able to work with it and find out something that's wrong with it, then later on we can come in and get rid of that part of the 18 codes that might be too restrictive for it. David, have you got anything to add?
Yes, sir. Since 2012, a lot of materials, new building materials have been developed in our industry, and these 18 codes will allow the use of those materials in today's construction, or in the 12s, that may not be allowed, or whatever it may be. We've been under the International Building Code since 2000, and every 3 years, the ICC, the International Code Council, reviews those, makes language clarifications, adds exceptions, adjusts it through time. And so we usually win every 3 years, but we kind of got behind this time, and it's our recommendation. I mean, we reviewed them quite a bit, and there's one section in there that's fairly new. You've all heard of tiny homes?
Mm-hmm.
Section Q.
I've got some pictures I'd like to pass around. I've got some developers that are wanting to do something like this in Bowie. If you could just pass those down. You've got several developers wanting to develop some tiny home villages in Bowie. The 2018 code has that appendix in there. It's just 2 pages, but it defines what a tiny home is. It's 400 square feet or less. Right now, the minimum dwelling is 1,000 square feet in Bowie. We already have some tiny homes in Bowie from years ago that are grandfathered in. But it's a neat development. And some of these pictures are from the person that we're talking to that's wanting to do this. Some of them are not, they're by another developer. Some of these developments on tiny homes may be a little village, some may be on an individual lot for sale. Those villages would be rental properties. They're really nice, they look good. There's a big demand for them right now. I get a call about once a week for somebody wanting to put a tiny home in somewhere. And right now, we just can't do it with what we've got in place.
I have one question in regards to the tiny homes.
Yes.
Does the city code restrict it to a certain area of town, a certain lot size?
What we would need to do for that is And it's my recommendation to add it to our zoning ordinance schedule of uses for tiny homes to allow them in the single-family with manufactured housing zoning district, the MH, which is the manufactured housing park district, the multifamily residential zoning district, commercial district, and light industrial district, not in the single-family residential.
So that would be generally south of the railroad tracks and along some commercial areas.
Pretty much.
David and I looked at this map today when he showed me these pictures, and by the way, those are very impressive. Those little villages are down in Decatur area. And we ought to drive down there and take a look at that. It looks very impressive to me, the way they've constructed them. But it's not just restricted to the south side of the railroad tracks.
No.
There's other places.
There's some other areas in your commercial areas. For the village, you know, you're gonna have 4 acres, you know, or so to get quite a few of those in. So, you know, we're kind of limited on those type of areas with that much land around. But there are some available places in your light industrial and a little bit in your commercial, a little bit in your multifamily residential and so forth. So there's just kind of a little bit of areas scattered out. But I think those would fit in real well in those zoning districts.
So if we adopt these 2018 codes tonight, we'd still have to make some change to some of our zoning codes.
Yes.
And that shouldn't be a big problem, I don't
Now,
think.
when me and Sandy discussed that, doing an ordinance, if this code passes, and we can come back with you to add those to our schedule of uses.
Yeah, okay.
At the next meeting.
And that's my understanding. You've had a lot of people knocking on your doors wanting to build tiny homes in the Bowie area.
Yeah, talked to another person today about it.
And would these be single person homes? Could it be 2 people, or is it one, or is that depending on our codes?
I've looked at them, and it could be 2 people if you're happily married. You know?
I lived in one for 4 years on my farm when I first bought the cleaners here in town. I had one up there. I don't think it's less than 400 square feet though. I think it's a little over that. But it's 2 bedroom, bath, kitchen, living room, and a front porch. And it's nice. Very
They
comfortable.
really make them neat and nice.
Yeah. As seen on TV, they look pretty neat.
Yeah. I think everybody received a copy of this letter that talks about ISO ratings and things like that. Is that correct? Okay. And TDR. It's not only the 2018 I code, so it's also the 2017 National Electric Code. They're a year apart on there every 3 years, so it will be the 2017 English for the electrical.
Okay.
Like Pat said, it's going to save him quite a bit of money by going to the 18s. He's not the only one that's kind of setting on hold to go. So I think it's a good thing.
Good.
The business plan on the tiny house villages is really good for our citizens in that the way they usually operate is you pay a set fee, which covers your water, the sewer, the electricity, everything. And so you pay a rental amount of, say, $500, $600 a month, whatever it is, and that's all you pay. That includes everything, and so people on fixed income can budget for that a lot easier than they can where their utility rates fluctuate.
So you're expecting most of these to be rentals?
Just the villages. I talked to him today, this developer, and he said he was thinking about doing some single units on single lots, because we've got a lot of lots that may be 40 feet wide. They're not big enough to build a 1,000 square foot house on, you know? It's almost impossible. So those kind of lots, if we could find them in this right zoning district, would be great for those, and he would sell those. They're not really in the rental business, but they like doing the tiny home villages as rental property. But the rest of their stuff is single family homes being sold.
Okay, thank you, David. Thank you, Bert, for talking about that. We need to move on for sake of time. The next item is, I'm sorry, we need to make a vote on this. I need an entertainment. Do we want to adopt these codes? So I need a motion to accept adopting these codes.
I make a motion to accept.
A second? Good deal. Mr. Kent, how do you
Aye.
vote? Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Aye.
Ms. Higgins?
Aye.
Mr. Bell?
Aye.
So that's approved, so we've got those codes on the books now, so that'll be good, I think, for the city of Bowie and our citizens, both commercial and residential. So Patrick, that's going to save you some money, isn't it? I hope it does. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry I keep jumping the gun here on voting for these things, so we'll move on to number 3. Item agenda number 9, number 3, ordinance 2020-02, an ordinance amending Chapter 8, Personnel and Administration, Article 8.200, City Organization, Section 8.210C, Municipal Court Judge of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Bowie, repealing any conflicting clause, providing for a severability clause. Bert, you want to talk about that, or Ms. Cordell, you want to tell us about this?
Ms. Cordell will be happy.
This is a big word change, I think, right?
It's a small one. Every legislative update, there's going to be some changes, and sometimes they're big and sometimes they're small. And all they're doing is dropping a couple of words from the ordinance and what they have.
So it's just a word change, word update, okay. Any questions about this? Okay, if not, we'll entertain a motion to accept this ordinance.
Move.
Okay, have first, who has a second?
Second.
Mr. Love. Okay, Mr. Kent, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Aye.
Ms. Higgins? And Mr. Bell?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. This next item here, number 4, is something I'm really excited about, and I think we had some media here today interviewing some of our folks today about consider the internship program with Bowie High School. And Bert, you mentioned this in your accomplishments for last year, so tell us what this is all about. Or do you want to have Carrie?
Carrie Moore, our finance director, is going to address this.
Okay, Carrie.
The high school had come to us a couple months ago, during November or so, about possibly working with them on getting some of the students to come in and do an internship with the city. I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with the city, but we used to do this previously. And I know Bert's kind of touched on this in previous meetings, I think before Christmas, that we were probably going to be, coming to y'all with this. With the students, they can come to work, and there's 3, 6, 7, 8 departments that are wanting one student. Because of our benefit regulations and stuff, they can only work up to 19 hours a week. And with everything kind of working out the way that it does from now until the end of May, I figured it about $22,000. That would include salaries and taxes, and that's split up between the different departments. It was a good program. We had it going whenever I first started working for the city. We had several different high school kids in there. They, in the finance department and admin, they filed and did just catch-up work, kind of anything that we needed done that they were capable of doing that didn't cause any conflicts with confidential information or anything like that. And I know we've all kind of discussed with Bert the different things that they can and can't do in all the departments. Most of them aren't that big of an issue, but there are a few that have a little bit more restrictions than some. So.
How many are we looking at bringing on board, Carrie?
8.
8?
I believe there's going to be 8.
Okay.
Possibly. I mean, that's if we,
Right.
everybody finds somebody and they have a student that's willing to come into their department. So.
And how many do we have on board now, or do we have any on board now? Okay. Any questions about this?
What departments are wanting?
The admin department, which would do admin coding, possibly some for the judge. The library, the police department, fire department, parks, finance, electric, and the water plant.
Are they restricted from doing any kind of hazardous
Yeah.
type thing in the electric
Yeah,
or the
depending
water
on the
department?
department, the department heads are well aware of what they can and can't do within their departments. And like I said, some of them, like the police department, you know, there's a confidentiality thing, and my department as well.
Right.
So if we brought these students on board, would it be them working only during the school year, or would they continue through the summer?
Well, that's typically how it has worked in the past. I know there was some talk about maybe extending it if we found some that we liked, but I think right now we're just looking forward towards the end of the school year just to see how it goes.
And you project the cost for this school year would be $22,000 for these up to 8 people?
That's if they work every day, or,
Right.
you know, well, if they work 19 hours every
Right.
week.
And since this is not a budgeted item this far, because this wasn't thought of last year when we did the budget, that's why we need to bring it to the council to seek approval if we want to continue this plan.
It was actually brought up during our budget.
Oh, was it?
Yes, I brought it
Okay.
up to talk about bringing interns
Oh, okay,
to do copying and in-house.
Administrative type.
Yeah, so we didn't have to hire a full-time person.
good. Well, I wasn't here when that was done, so I wasn't aware of that. Well, that's good it was talked about.
Are we
Yeah, it's
gonna
not
do
currently
anything?
in the
I'm sorry,
budget.
go ahead.
But I think, as far as a budget amendment goes, if we need to do one, since the total amount for each department is only a little over $2,800, I think we should wait until we get closer to the end of the year, because if you have turnovers or, you know, something like that, then you might not need to do a
Right.
budget amendment for that
Okay.
specific thing.
Good. Any other
Gonna
questions?
Are you gonna monitor their grades to make sure it doesn't interfere with their studies?
Yes, I believe there's a report that you have to do with the woman. I
We're
think it's
working
Sally
closely
Page.
with Sally Page, who is in charge of this program at the school, and she's working on that side of it. I've got a meeting with her tomorrow to discuss some of these things.
Don't they also get some school credit for this?
Yes, they do.
What's our insurance liability for these children?
It'll be the same as a part-time volunteer type situation.
Our workman's comp will cover them and things of that nature, but, you know.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept this.
I make a motion to accept.
Okay, have a second? Okay. Mr. Bell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Kent?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. I think it's going to be it's a win-win for us and the school children, kids as well. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, number 5. Accept an agreement between the Texas Department of Agriculture and the City of Bowie for contract number 7219041 for the Community Development Fund for Mill Street Sewer Line. And Bert, I'll let you talk about that one too. I think this is a very good thing too.
This is the agreement between us and the Texas Department of Agriculture for the Community Development Block Grant Fund. The funding that we receive for that sewer line on Mill Street is about an 80% grant. In other words, free money of 80% of the contract. We had a conference call last week, and the mayor sat in on, and we got everything squared away. This is basically, y'all need to give the mayor approval to sign the contract. And the contract that you have in your packet is not correct. It shall commence on 2020 and finish, terminate on December 31st, 2021. So they had to.
That's the typo they found.
With that one word.
Yeah, they notified us that notified you that earlier today, right there at the last
Yeah.
minute, yeah. So after these were printed up here, so we'll get the right contract signed there. But basically, this is going to fix the sewer problems on Mill Street, and going to drill a hole under the railroad track and put in a new line and fix all that
That's correct.
stuff that's going on down there with all the stoppages and backups and all this and that. So I think this will be a good thing to fix for those residents over there in that part of town.
This is the bell ringer. We haven't gotten a community development block grant for several years, so this is the first of, I hope, several.
Good. Okay, any other questions about this? All the details are in that packet except for that typo that they made on the contract. And we'll sign this in the morning if it's approved.
I'm assuming you've reviewed this, Tracy?
I have not until tonight, but this is a standard Texas Community Development Block Grant contract. This is just kind of the kickoff.
Okay.
Good deal. Any other questions? Okay, do I have a vote to accept this?
So moved.
Good. Mr.
Second.
Good. Okay, Mr. Bell, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Higgins?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Yes.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Kent?
Aye.
Great, another plus for the city, I think. And Bert, I'll let you talk about number 6 here. Consider an agreement for drainage easement with Max and Margin Latham.
Okay. On the USDA grant, we, for some reason in the past, did not obtain an easement to go across their property. And of course, I'm not an attorney, but I don't think we really need one, but in order to cross all the T's and dot all the I's, I think we need one there. I've worked with Margin and Max and talked to them about this, and we're having the discussions, and they pretty much will approve anything we do as far as the creek goes there, but I'm sure they have their preferences, but, and we'll work with them on it, but anyway, this is just a drainage easement across their property, so.
And this time,
Your, the council's approval for you to sign it, and they had talked with Mick Latham today, and they gave a positive indication that they were gonna come in on this and sign it, so.
and this,
Max is sick under the weather.
oh, is he? The doctor's sick. So this kind of ties into that project you call the Brushy Creek improvement plan.
Yes.
And in the end result, it's going to clean up that hazardous area, in my opinion, there at the old Kiwanis Park. And this will also, with them giving us that easement on their property, it's going to end up fixing that problem at the Lamb Street closure, and we'll eventually get that bridge replaced and repaired. So they all kind of tie together.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, any other discussion or questions about this one?
Bert, I'm assuming this consideration is we're paying $10.
That's it.
You couldn't negotiate anything better than that?
Inflation.
Come on.
I tell you, to get the easement, I'll pay the $10 for it.
I think this is a good thing that that the Lathams are cooperating with us to help
Yeah.
get this problem resolved. Okay, do I have a motion to accept this?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Kent,
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster,
Aye.
Mr. Love,
Aye.
Mr. Malone,
Aye.
Ms. Higgins,
Aye.
and Mr. Bell.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Okay, we're just about through here. Number 7, ordinance 2020-03, an ordinance amending Chapter 3, Building and Construction of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Bowie, amending Section 3.103, amendments to model codes, repealing and conflicting codes, ordinances, or orders, providing for a severability clause, adopting a savings clause, determining that this ordinance was passed in accordance with the requirements of the Open Meetings Act, and establishing an effective date. Bert, you want to tell us what this is all about?
Yeah, basically, it's a change of the 18 code we just passed to allow development burning. There was a situation 3 or 4 or 5 years ago where the city wouldn't let the EDC burn timber out at the business park, and it cost the EDC $100,000. And we're not gonna let that happen again.
Good.
So this just brings the 2018 codes to what we had already passed before?
Correct.
Okay,
It's altering the 2018 code to allow
Yeah.
this.
okay. I'm with you.
Any discussion or questions about this little amendment here? Okay, if not, we'll entertain a motion to accept this. Okay, a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Kent?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Aye.
Ms. Higgins?
Aye.
And Mr. Bell? Another good positive thing we've done tonight. Okay, at this time, it's 6:47. We need to adjourn and go into executive session, so we'll ask you folks to leave for a minute, and we'll be back shortly.
I'll be right back, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Get synced back up in there, okay? We're waiting for our video system to get synced up with the real world, so as soon as that's done, we'll get started. We're online? Okay, we'll call this meeting back to order. It's 7:07. Okay, what's the council's pleasure on agenda item number 11, action following the executive session?
I'll make a motion for no action.
No action. Do I have a second for that?
I second.
Second. Okay, Mr. Bell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Higgins?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
And Mr. Kent.
Aye.
Okay, that concludes this meeting, and we'll adjourn at 7:08. Who made the second on that? Was it Thomas?